Stay frosty and head over to EasyMut.com for the cheapest MUT coins on the market. And when I say cheapest, I mean it. We're talking 1 million coins for around 40 bucks. Use code DIRECTOR for 5% off. Kia ora, brothers. What's up? It's the Director, and Chargers fans, NFL fans in general. Today's topic of conversation should definitely spark up some healthy debate in the comment section. I was reading an article this morning on Bleacher Report. They're talking about how the NFL could see 5 quarterbacks taken in the top 5 or the top 10 of the 2021 NFL draft. Yeah, I was probably thinking the same thing you guys are thinking right now, right? Like, there's no way 5 quarterbacks are taken in the top 10. But then, you know what? I got to reading this article, and honestly, it started to make more sense to me. Like, the level of play that you're getting out of these guys, let's say even outside of Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, I don't know, man. Lance looks pretty solid. Mac looks pretty solid. And if you think of it this way, where like in another year, those guys could easily be, top tier first rounders, especially considering that, let's say, next season, the quarterback prospects are not looking too promising. It's kind of starting to make sense to me. And us as Chargers fans, the next question is, why would we care? We're not in the market for a quarterback. Well, obviously, if quarterbacks are being reached for like crazy in the first 10 picks, that means that valuable talent is going to fall to later picks, and the Chargers at number 13 are kind of in a prime position to take advantage of that. So in today's video, I'm going to kind of go over the reasons why I think this could genuinely happen, and then give you guys scenarios of what kind of players, what kind of situations the Chargers could be in at number 13 if some valuable talent does indeed fall. Before we do get into this video, guys, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this content. The small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this video. Lights, camera, action. What if 5 quarterbacks are selected in the top 10 picks? Ludicrous? Probably a little bit, but it does kind of make sense due to the current state that the NFL is in right now. So before I tell you guys what would happen if players are reached for, I'm going to tell you why this could happen. So first off, there's a lot of quarterback needy teams. I'm going to list off a few. The Falcons, the Panthers, the Bears, the Broncos, the Texans if they lose Deshaun Watson, the Colts, the Jags, the Vikings, the Patriots, the Saints, the Jets, the Steelers, the Niners, the Bucks, the Washington football team. And then I put in question marks next to these next teams. The Cowboys, do they keep Dak Prescott? I think they do. The Raiders, they've been in talks about maybe trading or even extending. We don't know what's going on with the Raiders. The Seahawks, what's going on with Russell Wilson? Then finally, the Dolphins. Are they really going to trade away Tua Tagovailoa? We have no idea. That's a ton of teams that need a quarterback, and in a time where it's kind of sensitive, you know what I mean? Like, players or teams really do need that top tier caliber quarterback right now, especially one that's on a rookie deal. What would also kind of like smooth over, incentivize teams to go after rookie quarterbacks is the lure due to the success of recent rookie quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and now most recently Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and those guys. It's kind of working out more than it's not right now, and I think it's because the NFL's kind of figured out how to build around what they would need. I feel like a lot of teams are quarterback away from being like playoff contenders, right? The Colts are probably my favorite. I talk about them a lot. I think if they get themselves a nice quarterback, watch out for them to make a Super Bowl run. I feel like there's a couple of teams on this list that could definitely jump up and try and grab a quarterback, hope to ride the recent success of guys like we've seen, like with Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. Maybe that works out for them, and then they're all of a sudden positioned to make a playoff push, maybe even a championship push. But one of the biggest things that's different about this year, which kind of makes me think that this could happen, is the cap situation. Okay, the cap situation right now is bad. Obviously, due to the pandemic, there's not a lot of money to be spent this season. I think the projected cap space right now is probably going to be around 180 million, which is going to leave a lot of teams in a pretty rough situation when it comes to cap space. And this kind of does shake up the strategy that we see in normal years. Like, there's some teams like the Colts who could go after a veteran quarterback like we saw a couple years ago or last year with Phillip Rivers, right? that's kind of a good strategy if you've already got a team built around him. You're just kind of missing that one piece. And I think the Colts went pretty far with Phillip Rivers. They could have honestly gone all the way if things had changed a little bit. This really does add a wrench into the plans of a lot of different teams. Like, are we going to be able to afford that veteran quarterback anymore? You know what I mean? Like with the Saints, let's say Drew Brees, likely to retire. I think there's been some rumors that he may come back. I think he's probably gone. What are they going to do? They've got a great roster right now that could take them into the playoffs. Can they afford a veteran quarterback right now? The short answer is no. A couple of weeks ago, they were $100 million over the cap, and that kind of does speak to the situation that a lot of other teams are in right now. They just don't have the money to spend. So what happens? I think the lure of trading into the first round, even for a team like the Saints, becomes more viable. But we're going to be losing so many draft picks. Yeah, that team's going to lose a lot of draft picks. To trade into the top 10, you're going to have to spend up quite a bit. But the flip side of that is that you're going to have a quarterback that you can work with that gives you a chance at success immediately. That isn't going to kill your cap. That's very cap friendly. You can work around that. You probably even wouldn't be able to work around a Drew Brees at this point in time due to their cap situation. I don't know, man. Even if it's a roll of the dice and not all of these quarterbacks, succeed, which they likely will not, maybe only 2 or 3 of them will, that roll of the dice is probably worth it right now because of the cap situation. And missing out on a quarterback right now may be the worst time to do so because of the cap situation. Not to mention, like I said before, that next year's prospects are not looking too promising. So the next window to draft a quarterback may not come until early, like 2023. We don't know. We have no idea. Not to mention, the last, the cherry on top is that this is probably the strongest draft class of quarterbacks we've seen in a long time. And again, even though maybe only 2 or 3 of them work out, I think it's a gamble worth taking for a lot of teams right now. So you guys let me know in the comment section below before we move into the scenario of, what happens if teams trade up. Do you think this is likely? And I understand if a lot of people are like, no, and then they throw stuff at the comment section, they throw a fit. That's fine because, again, this is kind of a ludicrous idea, but we live in ludicrous times. And again, the kind of logic behind it, I sort of buy it. I kind of understand why this article was conceived in the first place. So next up, let's take a look at the kind of draft order that we're looking at. I kind of wanted to identify some of the teams that definitely need a quarterback. I think the Jets and the Jaguars, the Jets would be crazy to try and still build around Sam Darnold. In my opinion, I think they're taking a quarterback. So I think the Jets and the Jacksonville Jaguars are locked to pick one up. The Dolphins are certainly on the table if they're not happy with Tua. The Falcons definitely need to get a replacement very soon. Maybe even the Eagles. Jalen Hurts kind of looked good last season, but you got to remember he was on pace for like a crazy amount of turnovers as well. The Detroit Lions, who recently picked up Jared Goff, are they happy with that? Do they want to pick up a guy of the future? Carolina Panthers need a guy. I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is a long-term plan. Denver Broncos need a guy. Again, I still think Dak stays in Dallas. I think you got to ride out what you got with Daniel Jones right now. I think if you're the Giants. The Niners, I've heard talks that they're probably going to keep Jimmy Garoppolo. Chargers don't need one. The Minnesota Vikings probably want to, think ahead, past the days of their quarterback right now, too. The New England Patriots definitely need a quarterback right now. And then there's a plethora more in the middle of the first round. Washington, Miami again, Indianapolis, who again I think is a quarterback away from maybe going to the Super Bowl. They're kind of all over the place when it comes to the first round. So I think this season at least, we could be looking at maybe a record-breaking year as far as trades going into the top 10. Because again, when are you going to find a situation so prime, so perfect to pick up a quarterback other than 2021? Strong draft class, bad cap situation. You're going to need help out there. And I think if you're going to take a gamble, it's the year to do it. So finally, I do want to go over what happens for the Chargers and maybe other teams outside the top 10. What happens for us if a bunch of quarterbacks are reached for in the first round? Now, I still thought in my mind that maybe 4 quarterbacks go in the top 10, maybe. But the thought of 5 going to the top 10 is a pretty good situation for everybody immediately after. And the Chargers are definitely one of those guys. Now, if we take a look at this mock that I put together, I have 3 of them you guys can take a look at. I kind of went with the idea of Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson at 1 and 2. The Falcons taking Justin Fields at number 4. Then a couple wide receivers, offensive lineman Rashawn Slater, who the Chargers definitely want at number 5. And then at 8 and 9 back-to-back, I see Trey Lance and Mac Jones. That's kind of how I fit the top 5 quarterbacks going in the top 10 picks. Now, that kind of leaves on the table for the Chargers at this point if the Giants are adamant about adding a wide receiver and the Niners are adamant about adding a cornerback. It leaves Patrick Surtain, Samuel Cosmi, Micah Parsons, Christian Darrisaw on the table for the Chargers. Now, one could argue that the Chargers are still probably in a good spot to trade down if talent like that is going to be available at 13. Maybe a team is super desperate for Patrick Surtain. In my opinion, however, so are the Chargers. We got to start rebuilding that cornerback position. I think Patrick Surtain is a great start. Maybe he doesn't have the fastest speed, but he's got some of the best, technical abilities at the cornerback position in this draft. So I'm going to say maybe the Chargers stick to it at number 13 here. We get Patrick Surtain. That's the kind of names you can maybe expect to see at that position. And again, if you can see here after the top 10, we saw at 11, Devonta Smith, 12, Caleb Farley, and 13, Patrick Surtain. That's the kind of level of quality you're seeing in player available at 13 if quarterback is reached for. In the second mock draft here, this is how I had things shaken out. A couple of, I think, trades, if I'm not mistaken. We got Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, who I'm still pretty high on. I still think Zach Wilson's a definite candidate there. But let's say Zach Wilson is still on the board. Maybe the Dolphins opt to trade back and let a team like the San Francisco 49ers jump in and grab their quarterback of the future in Zach Wilson. I think the Falcons are still happy with Trey Lance at 4. That kind of leaves Mac Jones up there. I think a lot of teams are going to panic at that point and be like, dude, 4 quarterbacks in the first 4 picks. What crazy times are we living in? And I think maybe that team might be the New England Patriots, who trade back with or trade forward with the Detroit Lions and pick up their quarterback of the future in Mac Jones, who a lot of people are super high on right now, man. And I think it's because of what we saw this last season. I don't know. I think Mac Jones is going to go higher than a lot of us expect. And in this draft, at least, I'm going to say that the New England Patriots trade up to grab him. At 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, this is how it kind of shaked out. Caleb Farley, Patrick Surtain, Jalen Waddle, Rashawn Slater. That leaves a couple options for the Chargers. Now, Chargers fans, this is the one where I'm asking you guys in the comments, what would you do here? What would you do if we had Devonta Smith available at 13? We got Micah Parsons. Samuel Cosmi's pretty good too. I think I would still go with Darrisaw between them. What are you guys doing? I'm thinking in this situation, again, trading down is probably not a bad idea. Who do we take in the first one here? We took Patrick Surtain. Do we take another skill position guy, or do we reach for a guy like Christian Darrisaw? Maybe the Chargers, I don't know. I would probably think about trading down in this instance. Maybe a team's really high on Devonta Smith. I wouldn't be upset with Devonta Smith to the Chargers. For the sake of argument here too, because he is kind of a value right now, let's say the Chargers do go Devonta Smith. I'm more interested in what you guys would do in that situation. And then finally, draft number 3. This is where things get kind of crazy and interesting. You'll see here available is Jalen Waddle and Kyle Pitts. 2 guys where I'm like, dude, if we're talking offensive lineman or Waddle or Pitts, it's probably going to be Waddle or Pitts, right? Especially with the kind of offensive lineman available. I need Chargers fans to understand this. What if we're sitting here at 13 and the best offensive lineman is Samuel Cosmi, who again is a pretty good offensive lineman? Even if we passed on Waddle and Pitts, I'd be happy we got Cosmi because he's got pretty high upside as far as a pass protector. But would picking Kyle Pitts or Jalen Waddle be such a bad thing either? I don't think so. And with the kind of depth we see in this season's draft as far as offensive linemen, I think that would be the move. How did I have things shaking out here? I had Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. Miami Dolphins did decide to take Penei Sewell. We got Justin Fields. Then the Panthers decided to trade up and grab Trey Lance, who's a very high prospect. And then the crazy Washington football team decided, you know what, we need a quarterback real bad out here. Especially after the news that they're going to let go of Alex Smith, which is kind of crazy to me. They decided to trade up to number 7 and pick up Mac Jones. You know, and then after the fact, we see Rashawn Slater, Caleb Farley, Patrick Surtain, Devonta Smith, and Christian Darrisaw all taken before the Chargers. Now, the likelihood of that happening, I don't know. I think Waddle goes before Devonta Smith. I think Kyle Pitts, it would be really hard for a team like the Cowboys to pass up on him, but this could happen. This could certainly happen. And in this instance, between the 3 here, wide receiver, offensive lineman, or tight end, for me at least, I'm still going Kyle Pitts. You know, Jalen Waddle would be a great pairing with Justin Herbert as well, but Kyle Pitts is just kind of like that talent you don't pass up on. The kind of talent you're never going to see again. We will see other fast wide receivers. Jalen Waddle is special, but I think Kyle Pitts is too unique, and that's going to be the pick for me. And then if you're a team like the Vikings, maybe you're super happy Jalen Waddle fell this far. Maybe he falls even further to the Patriots. I don't know, but this is all what if, okay? This whole video is based on what do we do? What's the consequences of 5 quarterbacks going in the top 10 picks? Is it likely? Probably. I mean, I don't know likely, but I think it's possible. I think it's very possible. And this is something that I think Chargers fans should hope happens. Because when teams reach in the first 10 picks for a quarterback, this kind of talent, like we've seen here, is inevitably going to fall in our lap. And in these 3 examples, we got Kyle Pitts or Devonta Smith or Patrick Surtain, all of which would be huge adds to this team outside of the offensive line. There, you never know. Well, there you go, guys. If you did enjoy this content, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. Leave in the comment section what you guys think of this whole scenario. Is it likely? Is it not? I'm excited to see what your guys' response is. We'll see you next time. This has been the Director, and as always, bolt up and stay frosty.